I'm Josh, I'm an investment researcher and a qualified actuary, and last year I slipped my L5-S1 disc, which gave me severe sciatica pain down my left leg. In this video, I'm going to share how I managed to reduce that pain to zero in just 2 months. So let's get into it. So step number 1 was to find pain-free positions. So my pain was caused by very specific movements. So the aim was to spend as much time as possible in positions that didn't cause the pain, which allowed the pain to heal and reduce my pain sensitivity. Now I got this from Dr. Stuart McGill's book. This is his textbook called Lower Back Disorders. So he's also written another book called The Back Mechanic and also The Gift of Struggle, which he wrote with a strongman called Brian Carroll. And this is his first point. I'm not going to butcher his Stuart McGill method. I think you should look it up yourselves. But essentially what I took from it initially was that it's very specific injuries that cause the pain that you're experiencing. So the first thing to do is to stop doing those things, i.e. remove the cause of the pain, and that allows your body to heal. Stuart McGill has done a podcast with Andrew Huberman, and that's how I found him initially. Basically, when I experienced the severe pain, which was so severe I essentially couldn't move, I decided to do as much research as possible on lower back disorders and who were the experts out there, and try to take as much advice from them as possible. So when I slipped my disc, I was basically paralyzed due to pain for 3 days. I lay face down in my bed and think about my bad choices for those 3 days. That also gave me the time to do all the research. And also by getting my pain to a point that was so intense, I basically found the one position that didn't cause me any pain, and it was lying face down on the floor with my legs slightly tucked in. And that was the only position I could stay in for a long period of time. And that's interestingly the first position that Stuart McGill gets you into when he's doing his method. It's the face down. Can you lie face down on the floor pain-free? Can you start raising up, extending your back, still pain-free? The way to think about this is potentially the Sphinx position or the Cobra position. That was the position I found that was essentially pain-free while lying on the ground. And then over time, as my back got better, I realized that there were more pain-free positions. So I found a pain-free way of sitting, and that's essentially sitting in a chair with a hard back and using one of these rollers, kind of wedging my back so that my back is in the right sort of position. And I found this actually is really helpful in the car. I tried a number of different supports and lumbar supports over the month or so, and I found that inflatable ones are quite good. They're quite convenient, but they're eventually lose their ability to hold the air. So these kind of hard supports are way better and way more effective. I also found that I was able to eventually sleep with rollers and supports. Interestingly, I found that the limiting factor on sleeping with lumbar supports was my hip flexors, because they were super tight, and I'd always heard that desk workers get really tight hip flexors, and I thought, oh, that's probably not me. I did a few hip flexor stretches in my workouts, but I didn't realize how tight my hip flexors were until I started trying to sleep with a good lumbar support. I had my lying position, which was Cobra. I had my sitting position with this support, but I tried to avoid sitting as much as possible because over time I did feel my back start to complain, essentially, with the pain slightly increasing. It's better now, obviously. And then also standing. So standing was actually quite a good position for me. I tried to work as much as possible at a standing desk and tried to get as much walking in as possible. So essentially I had to spend as much time as possible in these pain-free positions, which allowed my body to heal. I spent most of my time working, so I was working on my front in the Sphinx position. I used this other roller to kind of prop up my chest so that my arms were a bit more free. Found that worked really well. So yeah, when I was working from home, I was lying down on my front. When I was in the office, I was at my standing desk, which worked as well. I also took a portable yoga mat into the office, which meant that whenever I felt like the tension was getting too much, I just went and basically did some basic yoga, so some Sphinx poses, some Cobra positions, just to kind of release the pressure on my back that was building up. I also stopped cycling. So one of the things McGill asked you to do is to make a list of all the things that you were doing when your back got really bad. So for me, that was cycling in my really aggressive carbon road bike, driving long distances in the car, driving for like 5 hours without moving. Obviously terrible for my back, particularly as I think my car seat was particularly bad. So yeah, I've eliminated those things. When I drive now, I have lumbar support. People say you can wrap up a towel, but I didn't ever really find that to be effective enough. I needed like a lot of support. So like this massive roller rather than a rolled up towel. So one of the other things I implemented, a timer. So I used this, it's just a little like Pomodoro timer, but that was essentially to make sure that I wasn't sitting down for long periods of time and I was getting up and moving. Because what your body wants to do is migrate the kind of stress throughout different parts of your body over time. And I think it was initially working at a desk for hours on end, crunching spreadsheets that actually caused my back to go, or at least weaken. So definitely really important to keep getting up and moving around. So that was quite a long-winded number 1. So point number 2 is apply heat. When I had my moment face down on the floor, I had a hot water bottle on my back, and I found that actually helped to relieve a lot of the pain. It was subtle, it wasn't as good as the painkillers, but it kind of drove blood flow to the area and enabled me to feel a little bit better. And also, I don't know if you've ever experienced back pain, but what happens is your body kind of tenses tenses up, your lower back tenses up, your legs tensen up to try and stop you from moving because you're that damaged. So what the hot water bottle enabled me to do, kind of relieve some of that strain and stress on the body. So initially I thought applying heat wouldn't do anything, but after a bit of research I realised you need to apply heat to the area because it dries blood flow there. I then upgraded my hot water bottle to this mini electric blanket that I got from Amazon. Really useful because it just stays hot forever, just uses electricity, so you don't have to keep boiling a kettle and you don't have to keep getting up to boil the kettle as well. So eventually transitioned to that as a recommendation from a colleague. Absolutely fantastic. Actually quite an efficient way to heat yourself as well if you get cold ever, rather than turning all the heating. So yeah, super good. What I've eventually graduated to with the heat is lying front first in my bath. So my bath has got kind of this like lip, so I can kind of balance in cobra position in my bath with my lower back and my legs in the hot water, which I find is absolutely amazing. It completely relieves all the muscle tension. You can put bath salts in there as well, which helps, so Epsom salts. And also because I'm lying face first and my whole body is supported by the kind of curve of the bath, you're kind of supported in this cobra position and you can stay there for a long period of time. It allows a lot of rest and recuperation for key muscles. And yeah, that's the best thing I've found so far. So combining point number 1 and 2, you've got heat and you've got a pain-free position to allow your body to heal. Then point number 3 is to walk. So Dr. McGill recommends walking and building it up over time. So don't just go out a massive, 10,000 step walk right after the pain started. The key is to kind of build up over time. Initially, I found the walking really, really painful, but McGill kind of gives you confidence that it is beneficial. So you should keep doing it. I think his phrase is like motion is lotion. It basically creates the right sort of movements that allows your back to heal over time. Now I've been ramping up my steps to like 10,000 a day, and I can really feel the benefit the next day that my back is just feeling so much better. So I'm trying to build in by 10,000 steps a day. He recommends breaking it up because one long walk can be quite painful. Lots of little walks throughout the day can be really beneficial. Stuart McGill also recommends his big 3 exercises, which are kind of like physio exercises. I didn't actually do these and I managed to recover without them because I prefer to do kind of more kind of natural movements. But I think if I was at this point and I hadn't been getting better, I would have started to build those in. And also one of the things I haven't been doing yet is build in kind of back strength work, because I've just been trying to allow my body to heal rather than trying to strengthen it. And I think that was one of the key mistakes I made early on. I was trying to like strengthen before the injury had healed, so I was doing kind of counterproductive movements and making it worse. I would maybe go on to the big 3 over time, but I haven't actually needed it so far and my pain has been completely reduced, and it's quite satisfying knowing I've done that essentially by lying on the ground and walking, and supernatural, feeling great for him. Kind of linked to this, I've noticed that Rich Roll, who's a famous ultra runner, recently had lower back surgery and he's going through his recovery at the moment, and I can kind of relate to that quite closely. He's taking it very slowly. His back was way worse than mine. I think that's beneficial. So if you are suffering from a bad back now, check him out and see how his recovery is going.
There has been some ups and downs. It hasn't been all that easy.
So they were my top 3 things to do to reduce your sciatica pain, become pain-free after a disc bulge. So yeah, I'm a month and a half following that kind of episode of extreme back pain. I got an MRI at the time, and yeah, it got on way worse than it had when I first initially did it. So just going to show you that this actually works, and I'm super happy with the methodology from Dr. McGill and others. So what didn't work? As mentioned, I did this about a year ago. So yeah, August last year. I didn't really know what I was doing. Same thing happened. I was bedridden for a few days. It got better. I kind of carried on, but then I started to get the sciatica pain all down my leg, all down my left leg, and particularly my ankle. Where I wasn't a doctor, there's a physio, they diagnosed me with a tendonitis. So I was treating my tendonitis to my ankle, and eventually the pain got so bad that I had to get a scan. That was around Christmas time. The scan basically showed that I had the L5-S1 disc bulge. And so then I started to do physio, started to do Pilates. I did kind of everything that I thought would kind of fix the back. But the one thing I didn't do is remove the cause. And that's the key thing here. So remove the cause of the pain. I was still cycling. I was still sitting in chairs, putting on my shoes and doing some hyper back bending, flexion rather than extension, which was causing a lot of damage. So I removed all that and things were looking better. And yeah, it wasn't until the back got even worse about 2 months ago, I started to revisit and really kind of take it seriously and learn for myself what was going wrong and looking for alternatives, and that's what led me to Dr. McGill, and I'm feeling way better now. So it goes to show you 9 months messing around, not really taking it seriously, trying to kind of outsource my health, and then 2 months me taking it seriously, doing all the research and making sure I implemented it perfectly. So yeah, what didn't work? Push through the pain. The pain's there to tell you something. This isn't good pain. This is like, I know I did a lot of ultra cycling, marathons, did a high rocks competition, and all these kind of taught you to kind of push through through the pain, but this is a different sort of pain, and this is the kind of pain that's telling you to stop. So definitely don't push through the pain, because it just gets worse, and it just got me to the point where I was basically paralyzed from the pain. So pain's telling you to stop. And now if I feel any twinge of pain, I immediately try and deal with it. So without painkillers, just try to find those pain-free movements wherever possible. The other key mistake is trying to recover too fast. So this is going to take a long time to heal. I know that. I've done enough research on back problems to know how long things take. So I'm a bit more patient now, and I'm willing to take it slower and actually enjoying the kind of slowing down the pace of life, etc. Stretches didn't work for me. Some people think that stretches do work. I found that every time I was doing a lot of stretching, the pain actually got way worse and the condition actually got way worse. So I think I was stretching too early before my injury was healed. Apparently stretching gives you a slight bit of pain relief. It's like a mild kind of anesthesia, but I think long term it doesn't create outcomes we want. The other mistake I made was not changing my lifestyle. What I've now taken is that my back pain was a result of me doing stuff that was quite unsustainable. Essentially, I was putting my back through a lot of stresses and strains. I was doing my cycling, which is a very kind of aggressive position. I was doing kind of CrossFit kettlebells. I have a 2-year-old son that was being picked up constantly in odd angles. I wasn't following good lifting protocol. And then the injury, the kind of lifting in the garden, which caused my back to eventually go to the increased injury cascade. So now I'm thinking about how I can change my lifestyle to basically be more healthy towards my back. So walking a lot more, cycling a lot less, changing the way I move around the house, the way I do chores, the way I pick up my son, the way I bend down, all these things I'm trying to incorporate into my life to find that kind of sustainable movement patterns that will enable me to not have back pain again. The fifth thing that I did wrong was addressing symptoms, not the cause, which is a classic sustainability issue. I was managing the pain with painkillers, massages. I tried dry needling or acupuncture, which actually worked, and none of these were addressing the cause of the problem. They were all managing the symptoms, and that became very expensive. Acupuncture sessions are expensive, painkillers are expensive. Overall, I think I basically should have focused on removing the causes and identifying the causes of my injury rather than trying to medicate the symptoms. Then the other aspect I wanted to talk about here is the mental aspect. I think when you are basically paralyzed because of pain and you're face down in your bed for 3 days, it gives you a lot of time to think about life, and it also makes you think you're never going to recover. So reading Brian Carroll's book, The Gift of Injury, who's the strong man who had a terrible back problem and managed to recover it, with Stuart McGill, and also Rich Roll at the moment as well. These other people that are going through something similar and have actually managed to recover can give you confidence. If you're watching this now with extreme back pain, hopefully this will give you the confidence that it does get better, because I thought I was never going to be able to get better from this. So yeah, it is possible. I think managing the mental aspect is really important as well. I think you have to be willing to slow down, stop, take it a bit easy, and really put yourself first as you recover. So I've kind of mentioned this, but overall my story is that last summer I was lifting a heavy table in the garden, felt my back pop, no pain. Then I was cycling home from work a few days later. My laptop bag swung around and kind of tweaked my back. From that point, I was in so much pain I couldn't move. I managed to make it home via a train and then lay in bed for a couple of days, fixed. A couple of months later, I was running down the hill while holding my son, and I felt my leg kind of pain increase, and that was a sciatica. Physio thought it was tendinitis. So I was treating myself with tendinitis for a couple of months, didn't recover, everything just got worse. Eventually got a scan of my leg and my back, because the doctor then suspected it could be a problem in my back, i.e. sciatica. From that point on, I realised what my injury was and took some steps to change it, but I didn't remove the cause. I just tried to layer on fixes like painkillers, like yoga, like Pilates, the exercises that they gave me, but everything was just getting worse. And it wasn't until I hit another kind of low point where, again, I got home from work and I felt my back start to go, and then I woke up in the middle of the night again, paralysed, couldn't move because of the pain, and realised I had to take it on myself to really do the research and understand what was going wrong. And that's what led me to Dr. Stuart McGill, Andrew Huberman's podcast, and then also Rich Roll at the moment, who is going through a difficult back issue as well. Brian Carroll as well, partners a lot with Stuart McGill. He's got a YouTube channel. I would check out all these sources because they really help me. So there we have it. That was my recovery after 9 months of no progress, doing my own research and recovering basically pain-free in about 1.5 to 2 months. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you want to hear more from me, check out this one here.